morning. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to our MC for today's events, Miss Lori Fulbright. Lori Fulbright anchors the Channel 6 5 p.m. news each night with Craig Day. She is the nation's crime reporter. In addition to going to crime scenes to interview crime victims, suspected and convicted criminals, and law enforcement officers, Lori has traveled all over the world covering Oklahomans. Lori graduated with honors from the University of Missouri-Columbia Journalism School with a broadcast journalism degree with a GPA of 3.98. Please welcome, with a round of applause, Miss Lori Fulbright. Good job! That was good.
Hi, everybody. I am so glad to be here. How many of y'all have seen me on Channel 6? A few of you? Awesome. We are so glad that you are here this morning, and we have a great program planned for you, and it's all talking about this opioid epidemic, these painkiller addictions, these painkiller deaths that we're seeing. And the main message today, you guys, is all of these people have done all of this and come here today for you because they care about you. We all care about you and your future, and we want you to make the best choices possible. And I know you guys here have these assemblies and it kind of goes over your head. I really want you to listen today because this is a situation that does affect people like you and me and our families and people that we know and that we love. So we are so very glad that you are here. We have a lot of important people sitting around, so I'm going to introduce them. So to my left, if you guys will kind of stand or wave or something, Special Agent Holly Edwards with ATF is here. Yay! Special Agent Tammy Demir with OSBI. Special Agent Sean Henry with DEA. Director Keith Burt with Oklahoma Able Commission. Mays County Judge Rebecca Gore. And you guys, this is a biggie. Oklahoma Attorney General Mike Hunter is here in Locust Grove today. District Attorney Matt Ballard is here. Assistant United States Attorney Alan Litchfield is here. Our DROP co-chairs Amy Courtney and James Williard right here. We also have Mr. Hall, I think you're familiar. And then Middle School Principal Jamie Hall, Counselor Sarah Graves, Counselor Jenny Gates, keep it coming, I got more, Counselor Natasha Coughlett, prior high school graduate Lance Lang over here, you guys. We're going to hear from him a little bit. And then I also have Locust Grove Police Officer Jay Millerin, give us a wave. And then our Mays County Undersheriff Tim Thompson. So maybe all you can see is the back of their heads, but I've got more dignitaries here and here, you guys. And these are people from also law enforcement, but businesses and community leaders. These people have all come together to form what they call a DROP drug task force. Now, normally you think of a task force, a drug task force, they're going in and kicking in doors, but this DROP drug task force is all about prevention. It is all about getting help for the people who need help. So real fast, I would like to introduce you once again to James Williard, the Assistant Police Chief over at Pryor, along with Amy Gortner. She is the Advantage Testing owner, so they're the co-chairs of this entire task force.
As the co-chair of the DROP Task Force, I'd like to introduce you to the Drop the Numbers opiate campaign. The goal for this campaign is to reduce the number of drug overdose deaths in Mays County. The task force is composed of community members who desire to address the local drug epidemics.
Okay, so when we're talking about opiates, I want everybody to understand that opiate is a pain pill. So it's your Lortabs, your oxycodone, things that you hear every day. There were 4,583,585 pain pills picked up in Mays County pharmacies in 2016. That's 112 pills per Mays County resident. That number is extremely high. Oklahoma has a high number of pills per resident, but Mays County is even higher. So today, I want you to know that we have law enforcement and prosecutors from all over the state. This is the biggest assembly we've had as far as having this many prosecutors and law enforcement here. But we're not here today to try to put you guys in jail or put one of your family members in jail. We're here today to tell you that we want to educate you about the dangers of drugs so we don't have to inform your family of your death tomorrow. I'd like to introduce Alan Litchfield from the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Good morning. This is a huge crowd. I haven't spoken to this many students in quite some time, but I want to know how many of you all seen me on Channel 6? I didn't think very many, interestingly. Maybe tonight, right? So that was an amazing statistic that we just heard about the 4 million pills. Do you all have any idea, if you think about it, what 4 million of anything looks like? It's a lot. It's an awful lot. So we talk about opioids, and we're talking about prescription medications and heroin and fentanyl and oxycodone and Oxycontin, prescription drugs. We talk about overdoses. Overdoses increased 5 times over the previous years from 2010 to 2016. It's a remarkable jump in the number of overdoses in this country. In 2016, 1 in 5 deaths of young adults was an opioid overdose. 1 in 5. In 2011, there were 420,000 opioid and pain medication related overdoses in this country. You think about that, how much money that cost for the medical and insurance related costs associated with those overdoses. It's huge. In 2014, there was 1.5 more deaths from drug overdoses than car wrecks. It's dangerous business. 78% of the world oxycodone, numbers of oxycodone pills in the world are consumed in the United States. 78%. 3/4 of the world's production of pain meds is here in the United States. In 2016, 2 out of 3 overdose deaths were opioids. 2 out of 3. It truly is an epidemic. And you can tell it is by the concern that we have in law enforcement and with the school systems, with our medical community, as to the educational process that we need to go through to help you all avoid the epidemic. When you look at the sources of opioids in this country, a lot of them come in illegally from places all over the world, but an awful lot of them are in your medicine cabinets. Your parents have, or maybe you have, or a sister or brother has, or a friend has. In fact, half of the young adults who got hooked up with opioids got it from a friend or a family member. So while we've been in here this morning, I got here at about 9 o'clock. You run the numbers, 5 people have died of opioid overdoses in the United States since we've been sitting here. While you all were getting settled, I was counting off the number of people. It's a pretty frightening statistic. So we talk about education and prevention. The DROP program is about that, right? You all are here to hear stories and information about the opioid epidemic and drug reduction as it relates to your community. You're here to learn and to see and take that information back to your friends and your family and learn something about the ways to prevent opioid-related problems and addictions and help us stem the tide of the epidemic that we're facing here in the United States. It goes without saying that my U.S. Attorney, Trent Shores, applaud you all for being here today and hopes you gained something and learned something from the presentation. And I want to remind you of something before I sit down, and this is hopefully the soundbite for Channel 6, maybe. So you guys, the seventh graders over here and the seniors over here, you guys are the youth of the future of your communities in the state of Oklahoma and the United States. By participating here today, you can help us combat what has taken the lives of so many young people in the United States. Please listen closely, pay attention, and learn from the people who will be talking to you this morning. Thank you very much.
Okay, you guys get it. It's bad. I mean, the problem is really bad, and those statistics are hard to hear, but you guys, here's what I deal with every day. It's not statistics, but the people that I interview. And I interview mamas and daddies who are sitting in their living rooms bawling their eyes out because their kid has died, and they never thought their kid would get addicted. Maybe you had a football injury. Maybe you strained your back. Maybe you did something in soccer, and so the doctor gives you some pain pills. And then, before you know it, they make you feel pretty good, and before you know it, you need more, and you take some out of your grandma's cabinet, and you get some from your buddy. You guys, it happens to so many people. And you're sitting there thinking, it'll never happen to me. But I interview people just like you. I just interviewed a few days ago a girl who was 19. She got pregnant, had a baby. They gave her a painkiller. She was at home by herself with a baby, didn't know what to do, stressed out, and started thinking, these pills are making me feel pretty good. And then she couldn't get her hands on them anymore. And she is not the kind of kid you would ever think would turn to heroin. But she did, because it's cheaper and it gives her the same rush of that morphine. And she has been to rehab 6 different times. She has stolen from her mama and daddy. She has lied to them. She's lucky she's got a good family because they have stayed by her. And she has scars all over her arms, big marks that I took video of for my story that show all the times that she's put a needle in her arm. And she kept saying, I'm not that girl. I couldn't have turned out this way, Lori. I don't know how this happened to me. I interviewed a grandma, you guys. A grandma. She's a church lady. She had no idea that she was even addicted. She didn't know what was happening to her because she started off with a back injury. And those pills, she needed more and more and more, and her family finally figured it out. That she is like, I'm never the kind of woman who would ever have been addicted. You guys, it happens to people that we love every single day. People are dying. Young people are dying, older people are dying. We've got to do something to stop this. It is out of control. So if you have somebody in your family, if one of your friends, and you know the signs, and you know that it's not right, it's time to get them help. And yeah, they may be mad at you at the beginning, but they are going to appreciate you in the end if you save their life. If it's your mama or daddy or your grandma, we need to get them help. We've got to stop this. And if it's you or a buddy of yours, they need to get help for this, you guys, because it does not end well. I'm sitting here looking at you guys thinking you guys can do anything you want with your future. You can do anything. If a girl who grew up in a town of 5,000 people on a pig farm can be a TV reporter, y'all can do anything. But that future will be gone if you let these pills interfere with your life or the life of someone that you know. That's why we're here today. We want you to understand this is a problem, and not just in Oklahoma, not just in the big city of Tulsa. Mayes County has a huge problem. So, to give you kind of an idea, the Locust Grove Lighthouse team has created a video for us, so check it out.
It is obvious that there is a serious prescription drug abuse problem in Mayes County, and your Locust Grove Lighthouse team would like to present you with a video on why you should drop the drugs. That way, you won't end up like these guys.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
What are you doing?
Oxycodone.
In 2016, the population of Mayes County was 40,920. That is 112 pills per person. Why are you participating in this? Well, you are under arrest.
Are you guys using real police officers?
Of course we are! We're undercover!
We're taking you under arrest because there were 64,000 related deaths in the United States because of opioids. We're not letting you be one of them. I don't know what to do. First of us, sir.
Let's get out.
Give me the dang pills, lady!
I'll get her!
Right back in here. And here's your cellmate. It was a job well done.
Can I at least have my one phone call?
Would you like to hear your rights? No. No? Well, you have the right to remain silent. Yes, that's right. Stay silent.
Hello, and I'm from Lighthouse News, where we work for you. My name is Dale Yeatson, and I just experienced an arrest at the local Shore High School. I think those are the officers now.
Yes, we are the officers.
So, what were they arrested for?
Hydrocodone. We took these off the streets to better you.
Well, you have it there, folks. This is Lighthouse News, and I'll see you later. Yeet. Oh, I have forgot some very important things. This is why I hate my job. Anyway, did you know that in Mays County, in 2016, 4,583,500 pharmacies sold opioid in 2016? It's very crazy, isn't it? Hydrocodone was 1,751,348 of those opioids, and oxycodone was 1,032,313 of those opioids. That's all. Hello, welcome to Lighthouse News, where we work for you. My name is Dale Yeatson, and I just
You're not even talking into your microphone, man.
I don't care about the mic. We're going off script here. We're going to do it live. Okay, I just witnessed an arrest at the local Shore High School. Hey, guns is up.
Of course we are. We're undercover.
Over there, folks. This is Lighthouse News, and I'll see you later. Yeet.
Y'all got some comedians up in here. That was awesome, and those were the worst cops I have ever seen in my entire life. And I've actually had that hair during a live shot once when it's all in your face, let me tell you. I've never thrown the mic, but I might try that later. That was pretty good. So obviously, you guys, they did a really good job, but the point they're trying to make is really serious. So we're talking about the people who die, and that's true. And I want you to look over here at this glass. See all these handprints? There are 725 handprints over there. And that is the number of people who die every year. So I just need you guys to really understand that this is such a pressing problem that we are trying to stop. And yeah, even though not by those cops, you could be arrested. You guys, if your buddy says, man, I'm having a headache in math class, and you're like, here, I've got this pill that my doctor gave me for my knee, take it. That's illegal. You know, if you want to share that with somebody, you can't do that. And you could go to jail. We all know that. But that's not what today is about. Today is not about putting people in jail, although it happens. Today, it's about getting help, making good decisions so you don't end up there. But if you are there, it's all about getting help. I want to introduce you guys to Mike Hunter. And I know you guys don't maybe appreciate, but there are some big wigs here at your school today, okay? And they've driven a long way, and they've got really busy schedules. And probably the biggest wig, that didn't come out right, is Oklahoma Attorney General Mike Hunter. So he's like the top cop in all of the state of Oklahoma. And his whole job is to make people safe and secure in Oklahoma. And one of his top priorities since he got into office is focusing on this prescription painkiller addiction. He even created a commission just to study this issue, brought people together, super smart people, and they have created 7 different laws now to try to help law enforcement and businesses do something about this problem. He is also the person who decided to sue the pill makers. Now that takes some guts. He sued the people who are making these pills. He's like, why should these big companies be making their billions of dollars while Oklahomans are suffering and we're dying? And he's going to do something about it, and he's going to take them to court. So he also charges the doctors. Because we all know there are some doctors out there who overprescribe. They'll just sell you a script, here, take this, give me the money, move on. They don't care about your health. And there are some doctors like that, and he's charged them. And he's going to put them in jail. So he takes this problem very seriously, and that's why he drove all the way here to Locust Grove today. So please give a very respectful and warm welcome to Oklahoma Attorney General Mike Hunter.
So I'm going to begin by telling you something, and I know you're looking at me and you're thinking, what's this old guy going to tell me that's any new and different from what I've heard at these kind of assemblies where you're being told, stay away from drugs, don't do drugs. You're not immortal. Okay, everybody know what immortal means? Immortal means that you think you're going to live forever. Nobody's immortal. And 1 out of every 5 of you, 1 out of every 5, has a vulnerability, whether you know it or not, to addiction, whether it's drugs or alcohol. What's that mean? What's vulnerability? What does that mean? A weakness. Thank you. So whether you know it or not, you may be one of those 5 people that within the first 1 or 2 times that you take a drug, you become addicted to it. And that means you're not going to have any control. It means based on how you are wired, you're going to be susceptible, vulnerable to becoming an addict. So the folks that are here today, because of the jobs they do, they see a lot of people who are addicted. And I can guarantee you there's not a single person who is a drug addict that is happy with the decision that they've made, that's happy with the condition that they put themselves in. What opioids do is there's essentially a key that gets turned in your brain. And once that key gets turned, once the physiology of your brain gets changed and you become addicted, you really don't have any control over your decision making. So what happens to addicts? You become estranged from your family. You dissipate your assets. And the people you hurt, the friends and family you hurt, once you make that decision, the pain that you inflict on them is immeasurable. So what happens? You become estranged from your family. You spend all your money. How do you fuel your habit? You turn into a criminal. So not only are you a drug addict, you're a criminal. You ultimately commit a crime, you get caught, and guess what happens to you? You go to jail, or worse yet, you go to prison. So is that a good thing? Of course not. So what I want to begin by telling you is the decision you make on the front end of what's going on out there in the world, these pills being made available, that first decision you make when somebody says, try this, that's the most important decision that you have to make with regard to these white pills. Don't. So peer group pressure works both ways. There are all sorts of peer groups, I'm sure, today. There are peer groups that get you into trouble, and there are peer groups that get you out of trouble. Okay, so the only peer groups that I want to see today are peer groups that keep you out of trouble, collectively. So we've got responsibilities to our friends, we've got responsibilities to our family, okay? Everybody agree with that? Let's not let our families down, and let's not let our friends down with regard to this stuff. What does it do to you? As I told you, it changes your brain, makes you feel good, I guess. It slows down your heart, slows down your respiratory system. And that's what an overdose death, that's the process that occurs. Your heart and your lungs just stop working. This isn't imaginary, okay? The numbers are real. We're losing somewhere between 700 and 800 Oklahomans every year to overdoses. Nationally, we've all heard, you've heard of the war in Vietnam years ago. Okay? So more Americans died of overdoses last year than died in the war in Vietnam. Over 70,000 Americans died of overdoses. So here in Oklahoma, this is a jarring statistic for me. So you've probably got little brothers and sisters, some of you, who are babies. And there's nothing more precious than an infant. Nothing more precious. So in Oklahoma, we're seeing almost 800 babies last year were born substance impacted. What's that mean? Their moms were drug addicts. And so while they were carrying that baby, the baby became addicted to the same drugs that their mother was addicted to. And when that baby was born, within a few hours of drawing its first breath, it went into drug withdrawal symptoms. And the video of a newborn infant suffering from withdrawal symptoms is just nothing short of heartbreaking. So it's not just a decision that you're making about yourself. And again, that first decision is the most important one. Don't. Don't. Because the fallout from that decision affects your friends, your family, and if you're a mother, your baby. So the lesson here today, and I'm going to give you a little bit of background of what we're doing in the state to try to get a handle on this. But what I wanted to share with you this morning, again, you're not immortal. You could be that 1 out of 5 folks who are vulnerable to the addiction. Don't start. And the responsibilities, again, for all you folks in peer groups, I want all you peer groups to be conscious of the fact that you've got responsibilities to your friends. Don't get them in trouble, keep them out of trouble. So you heard about this lawsuit. How did this all start? It's probably informative to hear how all this started. So about 20 years ago, the medical community decided that there needed to be a vital sign that doctors paid attention to whenever they treated a patient. That vital sign was pain. So what's the problem with pain? How do you measure pain? Well, the answer is you don't. There's no scientific way to measure an individual's pain. So what was the response? The response was, well, there's got to be a magic pill out there that doctors can give patients when they're experiencing pain that'll make the pain go away. And so some drug companies decided that they were going to create that magic pill. And they didn't pay a whole lot of attention to whether or not it was a good idea. They didn't do the research, they didn't do the science. They took a drug, opioids, and they changed it a little bit. They modified it so that it was going to be a time-release formulation. And the big lie was, because there's this time-release modification that we made the opioids, they're not going to be addictive. Well, that was a lie. And unfortunately, they spent hundreds of millions of dollars essentially brainwashing doctors, prescribers, into believing that opioids weren't addictive and you could give them to people for pain. Tragically, this has gone on for a couple of decades. They've oversupplied these pills. In Green Country, the area around Tulsa, including Mays County, in 2016, there were enough opioids prescribed for the 1.1 million people that live in these counties for everybody to get 90 pills. So that oversupply that these companies are responsible for, this deceit, these lies that they engaged in to tell prescribers that opioids weren't addictive, that's the source of the epidemic, okay? It's not just cost the state a lot of money and you folks, your families as taxpayers. As we've said, it's caused thousands of addicts. It's cost the state billions of dollars that we believe. So we've sued these companies down in Norman in Cleveland County. We want an Oklahoma jury to hear the evidence, and we want these companies to be held accountable for what they've done to the state. And again, we think the number's in the billions of dollars, not millions. These companies have done bad things. As much as we all hate to admit it, we like to trust businesses. Sometimes businesses do bad things. And this is one of those examples. So that trial is going to occur in May of next year. I want to share with you the attorneys that are working for the state. Former Judge Mike Burridge and his law partner Reggie Whitten, they're not just great lawyers. They're both victims of this epidemic. Okay? Reggie, whose son was a great football player, played football at Southwestern, a great linebacker. He became injured as a football player and was prescribed opioids. He was that 1 out of 5 people that have the vulnerability to opioids. He became addicted and ultimately lost his life to the addiction. Judge Burridge lost his niece to an opioid overdose. So we're not just getting great lawyers who are working hard on your behalf, on the state's behalf, to hold these companies accountable. We've got 2 people that have felt the pain. We've got 2 people whose loved ones they'll never see again. And I want to report to you that they're pouring their heart and soul into this case. It's not just a case that they want to win. It's not just a case that's important. it's a case that's going to allow them to make their loved ones' lives mean something. So, I will close by just assuring you that there are consequences to this. It's not just drug companies. Most doctors are now doing exactly what they need to do. They're not overprescribing, but there are still prescribers who are essentially functioning like drug dealers. And we had a doctor, unfortunately in Midwest City, 10 of her patients died of overdoses over a 2-year period. So 5 of those patients, the autopsies revealed that the pills in their system were clearly pills that she'd provided to them. She was giving her patients thousands of pills on a monthly basis. Just think about that. She was giving her patients thousands of pills on a monthly basis. So clearly, we believe the evidence will show 5 of those patients died as a direct result of her overprescribing. We've charged that doctor with 5 counts of second-degree murder, and she's going to be going to trial fairly soon. I say that, and I share that with you just because we are holding people accountable who are functioning like drug dealers, whether they're on the street or whether they're wearing a white coat, okay? We're doing our best to protect you from what's going on out there. Again, whether it's on the street or whether it's somebody that's got a medical license, a license to prescribe. So I hope you come away with an understanding today based on the great presentations that you're going to be hearing, that you've already heard, with some sensitivity just about how serious this is, okay? It's not imaginary. And I'll just conclude by reminding you of 2 things. Number 1, again, you're not immortal, and 1 out of every 5 of you is going to have this vulnerability, whether you know it or not. And so the best thing that you can do is don't. Don't start, just say no. And all of you, your peer groups, your friends, please take care of each other. Okay? Thank you all for your time and attention. I appreciate it very much.
Okay, you guys, we have one more speaker for you, and I think I'm safe in saying this. He's a pretty cool dude over here. So he grew up in Mays County. He went to Pryor High School. He was a preacher's kid. You know how much pressure that is. And he's just has such a message for you guys. I've heard him before, and I just am drawn to every word he says and the experiences that he's been through. So he went from being a preacher's kid in Pryor to running a $30 million company, and he was 25 when he did that, right? Pretty impressive. But of course, there's a lot of pressure that goes with that. People have expectations. They think you're going to succeed. They, have all this stuff that they expect of you. And so that became a lot. And Lance decided to turn to drugs and alcohol. And you guys, he was one of those people that has that genetic predisposition, and he became an addict. And it destroyed all of his hope. It left him depressed. It left him alone. And he really started believing that that was how his life was going to be forever. So the fact that he pulled out of that and became sober, you guys, it's a miracle. And he's been clean and sober since 2011. And now he uses his story to help and inspire other people. He founded Hope is Alive Ministries, and they have 10 different homes now filled with men and women who are trying to shake their addiction. He's written book after book after book. He tells his story all over the country, so we're very lucky to have him here. He's a recovery coach for professionals who are addicted, because we think some addict is out on the alley, down on the street somewhere. These addicts are doctors and lawyers and cops and preachers. They're everybody. And he works with them. He teaches at churches and conferences. And he has literally helped thousands of people. So you guys, I really think you're going to enjoy listening to Lance and his story. It is so powerful and it is so inspirational. Please welcome Lance Lang.
All right. I got 20 minutes to save your life. I want all eyes on me. All eyes right here. I appreciate the numbers today. They mean a lot. They're real. But what hits home to me is Nate Colon, who I buried last summer. This is a friend of mine. It's not a number or a statistic. This is a real-life human being with a mom and dad who I sat down with in their living room and cried with for an entire day as we planned his funeral. What's real to me is Joel Klein, who lived with me in one of our homes for an entire year. Every night, I'd be in the living room hanging out with Joel as he was trying to get his life back. He left our homes, made just a few more bad choices, and overdosed. I'll never forget that day with his mom, Penny, as we planned his funeral. What's real to me, students, is Zach Ayers-Mendez, who passed away on June 4th. These are real life human beings, men and women, that meant a ton to me. They're 3 of the dozens of men and women who I've buried, officiated their funerals. I got 20 minutes to save your life, and I need everyone's attention. I want to ask you to do an exercise with me. I want everyone's eyes closed, all eyes closed in the entire room. Everyone plays. I don't care who you are. Everyone plays. All eyes closed. This is what I want you to do. I want you to take your life forward 10 years. Pick the number of how old you'll be. Take your life out 10 years. 24, 25, 27. Now, I want you to picture your dream life. Think of all the great things you've ever imagined having in this life. What is your dream life? Picture it like this. Where do you live? 10 years down the road, where do you live? Maybe you're right here. Maybe you wanted to go to a big city, move to the mountains, move to the coast. Where do you live 10 years from now? As you take your life forward in your dream life, what are you doing? What kind of job do you have? What's your family look like? I want you to go there 10 years from now. What are the sights? What are the sounds? What is life like in your dream life of happiness, fulfillment, purpose, passion? What does your life look like? If you could have anything, what would you have? All eyes up on me. Here's what I would bet, students. If I asked you to come down here and tell me what your dream life looked like, I would guarantee not a one of you would come down here and grab this mic and tell me that your dream life looked like a life of depression, a life of darkness, divorced, isolated, alone, reclusive, borderline psychotic. I bet nobody in this room dreamed of a life like that 10 years down the road. And you know what? Neither did I. And I'm no different than any of you. Listen to me. I am you. I played basketball on this court. I grew up right down the road. I did the same things you're doing, students. I was in choir. I was student council president. I played football. I was on the basketball team. I had friends, went to church camp. I'm not any different than you. One choice changed everything. It was a fall day, a lot like today. I was a football player, and I was putting my pads in the locker, and right next to me was a guy that I really looked up to. He was an incredible outside linebacker, great guy. He was a senior, I was a junior. He looked at me at this day, and he said something that kind of totally shocked me. I wasn't ready for it whatsoever. I didn't have a plan prepared. I hadn't talked about it. I certainly wasn't in an assembly like this. And he kind of caught me off guard when he looked at me and he said, "Hey, Lance, do you want to get high today?" And there I was. I came face to face with a decision, with a choice. I didn't know I was one of those 5 at the time. And there he was, someone I looked up to, someone in my peer group, someone who had influence over me. He asked me, "Do you want to get high today?" And the first time I said no. But guess what happened? The very next week, I'm putting my pads back in the locker. It was after practice. It was a normal fall day, just like this. He looks over to me, I look over to him, and he says, "Hey, Lance, do you want to get high today?" Well, the second time, I'd been thinking about it quite a bit. I'd heard stories. I wondered what it would feel like. I wondered what other people might think of me if they saw me hanging with him. So I had allowed my mind to go a little bit. But the second time he asked me, I said no again, but I added a little tagline on it. I said, "No, not today. Not today." And what I was really doing was saying yes, just wrapping it in a no. I was beginning to justify in my head and in my heart what I would eventually do. I said, "No, not today." I was just leaving that door cracked open for him to come back to me and ask me again. What am I saying, students? What I'm saying is that temptation, peer pressure, wrong choices, they will continue to knock on the door of life until you slam the door shut. And somebody in this room today needs to slam the door shut on those temptations, on those people, on those pressures that are getting ready to destroy your life. I did not, and this is what happened. All eyes on me. Very next week, I'm in the locker room, putting my pads up. Yet again, same story. He looks to me, I look to him, and he says, "Hey, Lance, how about today?" And that was the day that I made a choice that changed my life forever. I chose to smoke marijuana that day with him. And you might say, "Come on, Lance, you mean you got high one time and it changed your life forever? I mean, you smoked weed one time? I mean, that's like legal now. What do you mean you got high one time and it changed your life?" And I would say, yes, 100%, unequivocally, without a shadow of a doubt, one choice changed my life forever. Immediately that day, something happened. Something in my brain began to change. I got a feeling and I had a craving, and I got it the very next day. I wanted to do it again, and I wanted to do it again, and I wanted to do it again. And things began to change in my life. My friend group began to change. I began to hang out with the wrong crowd. I began to quit things that I love, like playing on courts like this. My ambitions began to fall off. My future began to get derailed. My life began to change from what? One choice. Your age in a football locker room in Mays County, America. That triggered a 10-year-long run where I was cheating on life with some substance nearly every single day. Went through a long stint of methamphetamines, crack cocaine, acid, ecstasy, LSD, everything you can imagine to change the way that I felt. In my mid-20s, I found a little bottle of those white pills in a medicine cabinet. I thought to myself, yeah, maybe I need a little burst of energy tonight. Maybe this will help me get through. A lie that was implanted in my head. And I began to take just a couple pills every night. And as the story goes, and as some of the stories you've already heard today, 2 wasn't enough the next day. So I started taking 3 and 4 and 5 and then 6 at a time, 7 at a time, 8 at a time. And then I thought to myself, well, it's working at night. I probably should just start doing this in the morning. And I began to do that as well. Then I began to do it after lunch, and that became my routine. Morning, noon, and night. Morning, noon, and night. Morning, noon, and night. Morning, noon, and night. There I am, managing a very successful company. From the outside looking in, everything seemed to be okay, but what was going on inside of me is that I was taking up to 30, 40, 50 pills a day. And my life was completely devastated. I began to do things I never thought I would do. I became a liar and a cheater and a thief, a master manipulator, a con artist. Just like Lori said, I went to my grandma's house and I'd make up lies to get into her home just so I could go there and steal her pills. I was a horrible person. And I lost everything. 2 kids that are sitting in a high school in Birmingham, Alabama today, I lost because of this. This is not a joke. It ruins lives. Thankfully, I had someone step into my life and intervene on me. Someone kind of like this who spoke truth and gave hope on April 6, 2011, stepped into my life and offered me a path towards freedom, a path towards recovery. And through a revolution in my spiritual life, my life has been changed. Just this past April, I celebrated 7 years clean and sober. Absolutely. So people can change. There is hope, and I want to leave you with this today. There are 2 types of people in this room. There are those of you who have already been tempted by drugs and alcohol. Maybe you haven't seen opiates yet. Maybe you have. Maybe you have seen alcohol. Maybe you have seen marijuana or other drugs. There are those of you that have been tempted by this. All eyes on me. I'm finishing up. And then there are those of you that have not been. And as much as I appreciate just say no, and I agree with that, what I want to leave you with today is a call to action to just say yes to the future and the dreams that you envisioned when we started this 15 minutes ago. Here's the deal, students. We desperately need you. We need you. We need your creativity. We need your purpose. We need your passion. We need the hopes and dreams that have been implanted inside of your hearts. And so when you become tempted, when you get around people that are doing things that are bringing you down, what I want you to remember is this assembly. And the hopes and dreams that were implanted inside of you when you thought about your future life, your hopes and dreams. And I want you to say yes to that future and no to the drugs that are being offered to you. You are worth this. You are worth every single one of these people taking time and energy and resources out of their life to come and invest it in you. Why? Because you are worth this. You are worth it. Every single life in this room is worth it. I wish someone would have come 15 years ago to Pryor High School and told me, Lance, you're worth this. You're worth saying no to those people. They don't know what's going on in their lives. They don't know what they're doing to you, but you're one of those 5. You're worth it. Find the right people and get around them. You're a summation of the 5 people that you're closest to. Are you happy with who you're surrounding yourself with? Get around the right teachers. Go talk to some counselors today. Why? Because you're worth it. And why? Because we need you. This is serious business today. But I hope that you know that you're worth fighting for, you're worth believing in. Make the choices today to go chase your dreams 10 years from today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lance. We just can't tell you how much we appreciate you coming here and sharing your story. And it's not easy. You guys, it's not easy for him to get up here and tell you what he's been through, but he does it because he does care about you, just like everybody here. So we are just really excited and thrilled that we were allowed to come here today. I hope you get the idea that we're here to help you. We have counselors set up. Talk to a school counselor, talk to one of the counselors here. If it's about you, a friend, or a family member, there's a whole world of people who want to help you or whatever situation you're facing. James?
All right, can I get the Lighthouse team? Emily, you got your team? Emily, you're going to have to come back up here too. You helped us put this thing. She was great this morning, so we really appreciate her. All right, Lori, on behalf of the Drop Task Force and Locust Grove Schools, along with the Lighthouse team, we have some gifts for you. Say thanks this morning, so we appreciate that. All right, guys, real quick, and we're going to wrap this up. You're going to have a card. Your teacher's going to give you a card today, and that card has a number. It's a phone number to Grand Lake Mental Health. That might not be for you. You might not need help, but I guarantee you know someone that does. So we ask you, if you get that card, or when you get that card, give that to someone you know in your family or your friend that needs that help. Okay? Mr. Hull? We're done. We're going to throw these out real quick, actually. Hey, Emily. Sorry.
Lighthouse team, please come up here real quick. All of you. Thank you guys for being here today. We appreciate the messages you guys brought and taking the time to speak with our middle school and high school students. I hope you guys paid attention. It is a serious deal, and if you have a family member that goes through that, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm not going to lie to you, I've got a brother that's got problems, and it tears our family apart. So you guys think about that. You have teachers here that care about you, you have administration that cares about you, and you have friends that care about you. So if you guys got something you need to say, come see us and do it. In just a minute, I'll excuse you. Again, thank you, Lori. Thank you, everybody.